Hello everyone. So this is our first alternative English poem. English class. So in the English class we are discussing about how to read a literary text, a poem, prose, etc. Because we are discussing about literary techniques, right? So therefore I don't want to repeat the same, and I straightly want to jump to the poem that I am going to read in your explain to you in your next class, that is the daffodils. So I have already tell you about daffodils in your English class when I was trying to giving some instances from the other text, because I thought alternative English syllabus will be removed, but since it is reintroduced again, we are going to do the same. So I want to start with this very easy, breezy, beautiful poem, The Daffodils, and Wordsworth we all love and we all know. So before reading a poetry, we should know about the age when the poem was written, about the author and the poem itself. So the Daffodils poem was written by William Wordsworth was in the age of Romanticism. So let's see something about William Wordsworth. William Wordsworth was one of the greatest poets of English literature, which belongs to the Romantic period. So we nowadays in the contemporary world, the word Romanticism only attached with love and attachment. But when Wordsworth, Coleridge, Shelley, Keats, Byron, etc. were started the Romantic movement, the meaning was not the same. They through Romanticism they try to kind of looking back at nature. So at that time what happened, the French Revolution was happening in 1789. So because of this French Revolution, the gap between the rich and the poor become greater, and the industrialization also happened. That is why in a society everything becomes chaotic. So the Romantic poets so the Romantic poets try to kind of revive this chaotic society by looking back at nature. Therefore their poetry are related to nature. They celebrated nature as their everyday life. They nourished in nature. They try to express their feelings through nature. And while reading a Romantic poet, knowing about the poet, knowing about the age is very important, because their poems were subjective. You understand that they talk about themselves. They try like objectivity. When they talk about an object, they like purely they do not attach their personal life with that poem. But Romantic poems are subjective because they kind of try to talk about themselves. So yeah, we are talking about Romanticism. So when we go to the brief description of the poem of the poet William Wordsworth, we will see that in his seminal work Lyrical Ballads, which he written in collaboration with Samuel Taylor Coleridge, he talks about poetry, that poetry is an emotion recollected in tranquility. So Wordsworth mode poetry ki asle, what was the definition of poetry according to Wordsworth? It is an emotion recollected in tranquility. So he gives importance to memory. So in this poem Daffodils, we see how this theory of poetry encompasses, or how he try to apply this theory of poetry in this poem. So the daffodils, we know that what is daffodils. Daffodils is a very small yellow little flower. So in this poem I am going to tell you about the gist of the poetry. It may take 2-3 classes to explain line by line, so which we will do in our classes. So in this poem, the poet tried to kind of compare himself with clouds, with birds, and when he was roaming like a cloud, he came across a beautiful field of daffodils. So when he was trying to express this beautiful field of daffodils, he uses many images, because the field was very beautiful. It has numerous it has n numbers of daffodils. He compares those daffodils with the stars, because it was uncountable in number. He then compares these daffodils he then compares with the waves. In beside the daffodils there was also a wave in the lake, but when he compares these two things, the daffodils outdid that wave, because for him daffodils was the most beautiful. But when in the later part of the poetry we will see that Wordsworth applies his theory of poetry, that is the poetry is the recollection of emotional recollection of tranquility. Tranquility means ki a peace of mind, হয় না, আমি যেটা পিসফুল থাকো হেতু ট্ৰেংকুইল বুলি কয়। তেওঁৰ কাৰণে পোয়েট্ৰি কি আছিলে যে whenever we see something, we instantly we cannot write poetry, but when away from crowd, when in loneliness we sit and try to kind of think of that beautiful thing, we can write poetry. So etia daffodils or khetroto kenuka hoy, when he saw the daffodils, instantly he could not write anything. He just enjoyed the scenery. He just tried to kind of absorb the whole beauty of nature. But when he was alone, he was sleeping, he was resting in his couch, the memory of beautiful daffodils swipe away all his sadness, and he wrote this poetry. So in this poetry, in this poem আমি সাম কি কৈছে, Wordsworthৰ যোনটো থিওৰি পোয়েমৰ হেতু কি হৈছে তেওঁ এপ্লাই কৰিছে। আৰু যোনটো আমি পোয়েমটো লাইন বাই লাইন পঢ়িম, আৰু ইয়াত বহুত কথা আছে, সেইবোৰ মই তোমালোকক ক্লাছত এক্সপ্লেইন কৰি দিম। So that is it. We will from the next class we will start with the poem The Daffodils. Thank you.